Joshua 5. We're going to read in verse number 13. And then we're going to read over into Joshua chapter 6. Joshua chapter 5, verse number 13. We'll read over to Joshua chapter number 6. We've been going through Joshua Sunday mornings. Brother Frank did the Sunday school this morning there on the Constitution and the Bible. And then I've been going through Joshua, little chapter by chapter. We've been talking about the victorious Christian life. How to have victory in the Christian life. And a lot of people get confused. They get saved at an early age, maybe even as a child or a teenager. And they get away from the Lord, and maybe they're in a place in their life where they're saying, well, I'm not living like a Christian. And they don't understand that you can be a Christian and not live for the Lord. God gives you the option to do that. The Bible says we have liberty in Christ Jesus. We're free from the law. We don't have to go anywhere on the Sabbath day. We don't have to keep different commandments, different things like that, and bring a sacrifice. We have great liberty in Christ. And what God said was, I'm going to save you, but you're not going to be saved by keeping the law. You're going to be saved through Christ Jesus. And I'm going to give you the privilege and the liberty to either serve Him or not to serve Him. And whenever we choose to serve Him, that's whenever you can have a victorious Christian life. I don't know about you, but I don't just want to live, I want to have life. You ever heard someone say, hey, buddy, get a life? Well, I'll tell you this, there's not life outside of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
There's not joy outside of the Christian life, living for Jesus Christ. There's not peace, there's not hope, except it's found through Jesus Christ. And then Joshua is all about God's people going the next mile with the Lord. It's all about them going the next step further in their faith and getting closer to God. And they are battling the whole time through Joshua. But they get the victory. In the Christian life, if you're going to live for God, you're going to find out that it's more of a battle than what it was before. But you'll find out you can get the victory. I don't know about you, but I like winners. That's why I'm a Buckeyes fan. And all God's people said, Amen. That's right. That's good. We're not down in Kentucky. We don't like the Wildcats or up north. I like the Buckeyes because I like winners. I broke my heart. I wept and cried when I found they're not going to let us. They're not going to play this year. But anyways, I like winners. I don't like to lose. I didn't like losing growing up. I didn't like losing to the point I'd almost want to cheat to win. I just hated losing. I didn't say I did cheat. I'm not going to admit to it. But I said I wanted to cheat. And anyways, the point is that here in Joshua, God's people are living the life that God had planned for them all along. And keep this in mind if you've been missing it. They wasted 40 years of their life wandering around the wilderness. But God gave them another chance to get in. And God will give you another chance to get back in. Now look here in Joshua chapter 5, verse number 13. And it came to pass when Joshua was by Jericho that he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there stood a man over against him with his sword drawn in his hand. Joshua went unto him and said unto him, Art thou for us or for our adversaries? And he said, Nay, but as captain of the host of the Lord am I now come. Joshua fell on his face to the earth and did worship, and said unto him, What saith my Lord unto his servant? And the captain of the Lord's host said unto Joshua, Loose thy foot from off thy foot, for the place whereon thou standest is holy. And Joshua did so. We talk about how that's the Lord Jesus Christ, pre-incarnate. Before He came down here on earth as a babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, Jesus Christ would manifest Himself in different ways. And right here in Joshua 5, He's manifesting Himself as a soldier, a captain with a sword drawn. And just so you know, if you haven't learned much about the Second Advent, Jesus Christ is coming back. He's coming back to get us in the rapture. But one day Jesus Christ is going to land here on earth, and He's not landing in a manger wrapped in swaddling clothes. He's not going to land as a poor man with no power, no authority. He's going to land here on earth as a captain.
Yeah.
As a King of Kings, as a Lord of Lords, and He's going to judge the earth for 1,000 years and set up His millennial reign. But God's just giving us a little taste of what Jesus is going to look like on His second advent. But look down in Joshua 6. We're going to read some verses here. Jericho was straitly shut up. Because of the children of Israel, none went out and none came in. The Lord said unto Joshua, See, I have given into thine hand Jericho, and the king thereof, and the mighty men of valor, and ye shall compass the city. God's talking to Joshua. All ye men of war, go round about the city once, thou shalt do 6 days. 7 priests shall bear before the ark of the trumpet and ram's horns, and on the 7th day ye shall compass the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow with the trumpets. It shall come to pass, when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when ye hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city shall fall down flat, and all the people shall send up every man straight before him. So Joshua goes back to his men and his priests and says this, Take up the ark of the covenant. I don't want you to think I'm reading out of funny version. It said, Joshua son of Nun called the priests and said unto them, Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord. And he said unto the people, Pass on and compass the city, let him that is armed pass on before the ark of the Lord. And it came to pass, when Joshua had spoken unto the people, that the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns passed on before the Lord and blew the trumpets. And the ark of the covenant of the Lord followed them. And the armed men went before the priests that blew with the trumpets, and the reward came after the ark, and the priests going on and blowing with the trumpets. Joshua commanded all the people, saying, Ye shall not shout, nor make any noise with your voice, neither shall any word proceed out of your mouth until the day I bid you shout, then shall ye shout. And we make the comment every time we read that verse that this was not a Baptist church, because they were able to keep their mouths quiet, like whenever God told them to. If it was me, I probably would have been, Hey Joshua, I don't think we should be doing this. We should probably be doing this or that. But they all kept their mouths shut, like Joshua asked them to. And he says, Don't shout until I bid you shout, and then you shall shout. There is a time to speak and a time not to. Verse number 11, the ark of the Lord compassed the city, going about at once, and they came into the camp and lodged in the camp. They would go up around the city, they'd march around, and it would take them 2 hours to get around the walls of Jericho, and they came back to the camp for the day, and that was it. That's all God wanted them to do. Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord. They're doing it again. The 7 priests, bearing 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord, went on continually, blew the trumpets, and the armed men went before them. But the reward came after the ark of the Lord, the priests going on and blowing with the trumpets. And the second day they compassed the city once and returned unto the camp. And so they did 6 days. So they go and march around the city and they come back. And it came to pass, verse 15, on the 7th day that they rose early about the dawning of the day and compassed the city after the same manner 7 times. Picture the second, or Daniel's 70th week. Only on that day they compassed the city 7 times, and it came to pass at the 7th time, when the priests blew with the trumpets, Joshua said unto the people, Shout, for the Lord hath given you the city. And the city shall be accursed, even it and all that are therein, to the Lord. And only Rahab the harlot shall live, she and all that are in the house, because she hid the messengers that they sent. Look down in verse number 21, or verse number 20, I'm sorry. So the people shouted, when the priests blew with the trumpets, and it came to pass, when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. And they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, young and old, and ox and sheep and ass, at the edge of the sword. If you're interested in saying, Aaron, why did God command them to kill the children and the women? We're going to get into that in the upcoming weeks. But I'll just say this, the God of the Old Testament is the same God of the New Testament, and Jesus Christ is one with God the Father and God the Holy Spirit. Whenever someone tries to feed you the baloney that God's just a loving God, He's just a loving God. He is a God that's of love. He is a God that's of mercy, but He's also a God of judgment. If you want to understand doctrinally why He had them kill everybody, I can explain it to you if you'd like after the service. But Joshua said unto the 2 men that spied out the country, Go to the harlot's house, bring thence the woman all that she hath. And we go on down there, verse number 27, it says, So the Lord was with Joshua, and his fame was noised throughout all the country. Brother Jeff, would you go ahead and pray for the message?
Lord, thank you for letting us be here this morning, Lord, and just good Brother Aaron, Lord, as he preaches this morning, Lord, and it's good for him to say what you want him to say, Lord. Lord, just help everybody that's not here this morning, Lord. In His name pray. Amen.
Amen. There's 3 stages to a Christian's life. And the first stage is whenever they're unsaved, lost in Egypt, and still need to go under the blood of the Lamb. That's a stage in every Christian's life, is they're not a Christian until they get that blood applied to the door. Exodus, you know the story, the children of Israel in Egypt, and then they cross the Red Sea with Moses. You've all seen the Moses with, what's his name, the actor that did Charles Heston.
Moses.
You see the movie? They cross the Red Sea. It's a picture of the blood of Jesus Christ. So that's your old life. You were in bondage to the world. You were living for Egypt. You were a slave in Egypt. But then you get saved, you cross the Red Sea. Then stage number 2 to the Christian life is the Christian wandering in the wilderness as they live a life of selfishness, carnality, and discontentment. Did you know God killed some of the children of Israel, thousands of them, because they kept complaining about their pastor Moses? And they kept complaining about the food that they had. I don't get into complaining about food, but I think we can all say we're guilty of being discontent at times. But that's stage number 2. And then stage number 3 is the productive Christian living that's lived in victory and conquering the enemy. The productive Christian living in victory and conquering the enemy of his or her soul. And that's where we find God's people in Joshua 6. They're living the victorious Christian life. Now keep this in mind, as a Christian, stage number 2 is optional. You don't have to wander anymore in the wilderness. You don't have to go the way of the wilderness. Young people, you don't have to go through the wilderness. And I'll just say this, I'll just mark it down because it's statistically proven. There's a lot of children who grow up in a church. They grow up under the preaching of the Word of God. Maybe their mom brought them, maybe their father brought them, maybe their grandparents brought them, or an aunt or an uncle or a friend or someone picked them up on the school bus, and they hear the Word of God preached, and they get saved at an early age, but they find themselves in their late teens, early 20s, and 30s, and 40s in the wilderness with a broken home, and a broken family, and broken relationships, and living like the rest of the world, and they're saying, God, what happened to my life? That's stage 2, and you don't have to live stage 2. You don't have to live in the wilderness. So those are 3 stages. J. Hudson Taylor said this, there are 2 ways to serve God. Make our own plans and ask God to bless them, or ask God for His plan and do what He tells us to do. And this is what Joshua was doing here in Joshua chapter number 6. Now I'm going to give you these things quickly. I just want to get on with the points here, but this isn't a fairy tale that we tell to kiddies in Sunday school. This really happened. I never learned this in the public school system for 12 years and 8 years in college so far. They never have told me this story. You'd think a great archaeological discovery like Jericho they found in the 1900s, and has been proven that it happened by archaeologists, and it's been dated to the exact time that the Bible says it happened, and all these things, you'd think they would have told us, but they don't tell you everything in a public school. God bless your heart. John Garstang, director of the British, they told us that the Prohibition was a bad time. They said it increased the crime rates. It increased the crime rates because people were selling it illegally. That's why it increased the crime rates. Anyways, John Garstang, director of the British School of Archaeology in Jerusalem and Department of Antiquities, the Palestinian government. A lot of big words, but basically he was an archaeologist. He found that the walls fell down flat back in the early 1900s. They were over there where Jericho was. He said the walls did fall down flat. He said they were 6 foot thick on the outer wall. They were 12 foot thick on the inner wall, and there's about 15 feet in between them. There's enough room on the walls of Jericho you could ride chariots on top of them. The houses were within the walls. They were so thick and so far apart. These were big walls. But he said he found out that the walls weren't built very well. They were laid on a faulty foundation and mud mortar. He also found out, verse 24 says they burned the whole city with fire and all that was therein. They burned it with fire, and there were layers of charcoal and ashes and wall ruins that were reddened with fire. There's a rocky layer that was covered with black and burnt debris. Verses 17 and 18, we didn't read them, but he says, don't take of the accursed thing. He says, don't take of any of their food or anything. Normally they go in and they take the food out. God said, don't touch it this time, it's cursed. Dr. Garstang found that there was still food that was preserved in the rocks and in jars and different things that was untouched. He said he found a bunch of wheat, barley, dates, lentils, and different things untouched, but they were burnt by they were charcoal by the heat. Another archaeologist in the 1990s found the exact same thing that Garstang found and verified his findings. So this is true. It did happen. The march itself around Jericho would have taken them 2 hours. Can you imagine not talking for 2 hours? And we're getting ready to see here in a minute. I got an illustration for you. We're going to see kind of how foolish they look. And think of them doing this for 2 hours. But that shows you they were disciplined. Because they didn't speak. They were consistent to do the same thing and keep doing it day in and day out. And it showed they had endurance to keep going on. You and I need all 3 of those. Now, if I can, I want to give you an illustration here that I worked out. I need Brother Jeff, Sister Abby, can you be a priestess for me? We don't believe in female priests in the Old Testament. You can be a priestess. Female priest, that's all right. And Aiden, you get to be Joshua. You got your trumpet?
I got it.
Okay. So you're all a priest. I'm going to show you what this looked like. Abby, this is your ark. And you're going to be in the middle of both of them, okay? It says charity mission. That might confuse people. The back side, that still says charity mission. It's all right. This is going to be the ark of the Lord. Brother Jeff, you're going to be in front. And priests always wore funny hats. Which one do you want to wear? The hat? I have one. You're blowing the... He can't wear it. Will you wear it?
I borrow the Yuki.
All right.
I'm going to lose.
That's my Disneyland hat. Brother Aiden, you're Joshua. That's your sword. It is not a toilet paper roll, but... And they also wore funny-looking things around them. Here, put that up on your shoulder. They had funny gowns on. But Jeff, all I could find was this wrinkled-up bed sheet from downstairs.
Ooh.
Sister Grace and I use it. May have slobber on it. That's Sister Grace's slobber. But you have to wear the gown. And I think we have everything except... Are you Joshua? What's the problem here? Do you see the problem with Joshua's outfit? What? His shoes. How many is he supposed to be wearing? One shoe.
You take one of your shoes off.
We just have to try to find. Take one of them all, Lord. Make sure I got everything down. Alright. So what I want you to do, you're going I'm not going we read the verses, but you're in the front, you got the reward in the back, the reward, with their you got your stuff on you, okay, good. Here, you need a suit look tough. Suits make my hand look tough. Just wear it, don't put your arms through it. The tough admirals will wear it kind of like that. And just shoulders back and everything. Now you're going to go around 6 times, and I'm not making you do it 7 on the 7th day. You're going to go around 6 times. And you don't be talking.
Not playing those all 6 times. We play all of them.
Yeah, they played it while they marched. It's just the priest, and everyone else had to be quiet. Yeah, you got to march. Ready? Good? You're smiling, Adam. You're a soldier. You're Joshua. You're going to kill people. Come on, priest. Oh my goodness. That's only one. That's good. There's a song they were playing too. Let's do one more.
I've done this in 20 years.
One more. Keep your legs up a little bit. That's good. That's good. At this time, you march around, we'll pretend it was 7 times. But you all spread out on the count of 3. You got to yell "Glory to God." That's what they did on the 7th day. Yeah, you don't have to blow up this time. So, hey, you can stay right up here. Or Jeff, you're right around back. And Sister Abby, the priestess, you can just stop right there by that window. This is what it looked like. In Joshua 6, you're out on the count of 3. You got to yell "Glory to God." That's what they yelled. 1, 2, 3.
Glory to God!
And everybody started trembling.
Oh.
Good, all right, don't play long. All right, give them a big round of applause. Take your stuff back wherever. Jeff, I want my hat back, clean out the sweat.
I am sweating, and she's got it all over now.
Thanks, buddy, too. Thank you for that. Well, what'd you think? Not much to be said, Brother Frank, is there? You think that's how it looked? Pretty close?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty accurate with the clothes and everything. They look kind of goofy. It's okay. This is a safe zone. You can say whatever you want to say. This is a safe space right here. Look kind of goofy, didn't they? Did anyone think they looked kind of scary? Does anyone think that's kind of spooky? Emmett? They weren't scared? Let me ask you this. The toilet paper? That wasn't. He said toilet paper roll's not scary. Let me ask you this. If you were sitting over here in your apartment or over there on your porch and you saw them going around the church building outside on Monday, would you think that'd be a little scary? What have you seen them on Tuesday doing? Just them out here. Just Brother Jeff, Abby, and Aiden just marching around with all that stuff, just marching around doing that. Day 2. I bet you by day 3 you'd be going, yeah, 911. There are 3 grown adults that keep marching around the church. No one's at the church. They're just marching around and playing a trumpet and wearing funny clothes. And we don't know what's going on. We have children over here. We're kind of scared. So it could have looked scary to some people. Let me ask you this. Did it get annoying? I wasn't going to have to go around all 6 times. Was anyone thinking, all right, we get the point. Why are you having to do it this many times? Brother Jeff, I had to cut it short. think Brother Jeff was about. You used to do the marching band, didn't you?
I used to. That's
You used
over
to?
20 years
Been a
ago,
while.
brother.
You say, Aaron, I could have done better than Brother Jeff. Well, you get up here and play the trumpet and march around. You know the point of this. I'm going to bring out some things about it. But you know that's how the world looks at us. How you just look at them marching around and you say, Aaron, this is childish. You know the world looks at us that way. That's kind of pointless, them marching around like that. Look at that crazy nut going to church again. He's already been once this morning. Now they're going back. What are they doing on a Wednesday night? They're going back to church again? Crazy fanatics. Look at them bowing their heads before they eat their meals. Those Pharisees. Look at how they dress different than everyone else. Legalist. Look at those fanatics that are passing out tracts, going door to door, inviting people out to church. Don't they know that doesn't work anymore? What are they, a cult or something? Why in the world do they have those scripture signs in their yard? What good is that going to do? Why do they have those signs on their cars that say Jesus Christ saves, or only through Jesus Christ can you be saved? Why do they have those signs, those fanatics? Don't they know that those things don't work? You don't cuss. You don't drink. Here's a good one. You didn't watch that movie? That movie that just came out, you didn't watch it? No, I missed that one. What was it rated? Oh, it was rated PG-13. It was alright. It was? Let me look up here the reviews of it. It says it uses the F word. And it says it uses that word. Oh, and that word. And then it has brief nudity in it. No, we didn't watch that one. God, it's getting quiet. I didn't think we would get that quiet. Until people still be getting along with it. Other people saying amen. You don't date around? You're so weird. You haven't dated anybody yet? You're 18 and you haven't dated yet? No, I have respect for myself. I'm waiting for a man that loves God, that goes to church, that works a job, that's not living in his parents' basement. I'm waiting on the right man to come along and God to put that man in my life. I am different. I don't date around. You don't let your kids go to school dances. Your mom and dad don't let you watch that movie. You ever heard this one? You're brainwashing your kids. I've heard people say, you're brainwashing your kids. I don't believe in brainwashing your kids. What are you going to do? Let someone else brainwash them? I'd rather have a clean brain than a dirty brain. Someone's going to teach your kids something.
Yeah.
Someone's going to brainwash your kids. You know Jesus Christ fit in with the world so much. He fit in with the world so much that they crucified him naked on a tree because they hated him so much. Jesus Christ didn't fit in with the world. He stood out. You know, the problem with Christians today is that they want to fit in a world that they're strangers and pilgrims in. You and I, we're not of this world. We're not going to look like the world and dress like the world and talk like the world. And it has nothing to do with them. They always say, well, you're judging me or you're judging. No, we're not judging you. We just want to be as close to God as we can be. And if you try to say, God, I want to get closer to you, I want to draw nigh unto you, people are going to look at you like you're a fanatic. They're going to look at you like you're crazy. They're going to look at you like you're brainwashing your kids or your family. You're just different. Why you got to be so peculiar? Why you got to be so different? Because we are. Amen. We have God inside of us.
Amen.
We can't be like the rest of the world. We can't be like the rest of the people. And if we try to be, we'll be unhappy.
Yeah.
The most unhappy person in this world is not a lost man. The most unhappy person in this world is a child of God that's not living like his child.
Right? Yeah, amen.
Because he has the witness inside of him. He has the Holy Spirit that he grieves daily, day in and day out. She has the Holy Spirit inside of her that says, this isn't right. You're not supposed to be living this way. You're supposed to be different than the rest of the girls, the rest of the guys around you. And they have the witness inside of them. You and I, folks, cannot fit in with this world. We've got to be different. We have to be different. You know, you'll never notice a light if it's not on.
Yeah.
A light is no help if it's covered up. And you and I have a great light inside of us. Folks, you and I have what this whole world needs. It's not our church building. It's not you and I. We have Jesus Christ. You realize everything that you want in life, Jesus Christ has? He gives you good relationships with your family and your loved ones. He gives you good relationships with your boss and employees at work. He gives you a financial stability to where you can spend your money right and you won't be in debt. You won't be stressed out over your bills. He gives you love. He gives you compassion. You know, everyone in this life wants a purpose. And Jesus Christ said, come unto me, all you that labor. How many people in here work? I do. He said, come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give thee rest. Take my yoke upon me and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest unto your souls. Jesus Christ has a purpose for each one of us. Joshua and the children of Israel looked peculiar to the heathen and the lost world because that's exactly how God wanted them to look. And throw out the thing with the fundamentalist movement, this and that. I'm not talking about dressing in his white shirt tie everywhere you go, this and that. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying he wants us to look different. And if you and I are going to see the walls of Jericho fall down in our lives, you're going to just have to accept being different than the world. And I'll go a step further. You're going to have to accept being different than other Christians. God, if you want to draw closer to God, what you'll find out was there were thousands of disciples with Jesus Christ when He was feeding them and giving them bread and doing miracles for them. Thousands of them. But there were only 12. There were only 12 that God said, I want to have a special fellowship with you, because they wanted the fellowship. They wanted to forsake all houses and lands and homes, and they wanted to forsake all, and they wanted to follow Jesus Christ. Those 12 saw things that those thousands never did see. And then out of those 12 disciples, a picture of a local church, a picture of a group of people that are with Jesus, working together, laboring together, preaching together, getting the witness out, getting the gospel out. And the picture of those 12, there were only 3 that Jesus Christ took with Him into the Garden of Gethsemane whenever He prayed. Those are the same ones that He took up on the Mount of Transfiguration, where they got to see Jesus Christ shining like He will be on the second advent. They got to see that. And then when Jesus Christ is praying in the Garden of Gethsemane, those 3 got to see an angel come up if they weren't already asleep. And Jesus Christ was praying and burdened down so much, He had so much stress and pressure that out of His pores started coming blood. Have you ever seen someone cry convulsively? I mean, I'm talking about they're heaving. Have you ever seen someone from behind? You don't have to guess what's going on. They look like they're And Jesus Christ is there on a rock, crying and praying and saying, God, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. And He has the whole weight and the whole sin of the world upon Him. He has you and me on His heart and on His mind. And He said, Lord, I don't want to, I have to go through all their sin and all their judgment. And He's crying out, and an angel comes up and puts his hand on his shoulder and strengthens him. And only those 3 could have saw that. The other 8 couldn't have. One was already out in the world, Judas. And the thousands couldn't see it. And if you want to get closer with God, you want to tear down some walls of Jericho in your life, you're going to have to realize that you're going to be different than even other Christians. But I will tell you this, and I will promise you this, you'll see things that other people don't get to see. You know, the best moments, and I tell people this all the time, the best moments in my life are not leading a lady to the nursing home, at the nursing home to the Lord. While she grips my hand and she's got a tear running out of her eyes, accepting Jesus Christ as her Savior. That's not the best time of my life. The best time of my life is not whenever I got to preach down at Brother Samuel Allen's camp meeting in front of a couple hundred people on a Tuesday morning or a Wednesday morning, and have people tell me, good job, this and that, pat you on the back. That's not the best times of my life. The best times of my life is never hitting a home run in baseball. The best times of my life are not crossing the end zone and getting a touchdown. The best times of my life are not walking on stage and getting scholarship for college. The best times of my life are not walking down the shoe there at Ohio State and getting my diploma. The best times of my life have been on a Friday or a Saturday morning or a Friday night. Whenever I've been fasting, I've been praying, I've had God's Word open in front of me, and He shows me things out of that book that I can't explain to you. He shows me things in my own life. He shows me walls of Jericho that He's going to take down. He shows me walls of Jericho He's already taken down in my life. And it's just between me and Him, and that fellowship is sweet. And I get to see that angel lay his hand on Jesus' shoulder. And if you and I are going to see some walls of Jericho brought down in our life, we have to accept that we're going to look peculiar to the world. And you may look peculiar to other Christians. I don't know what your wall is. Your wall might be fear. It might be doubt. It might be worrying over a loved one. It might be a fear to witness to neighbors. It may be doubt that God's in control in a situation, financially or physically or health-wise. I don't know what your wall is. Maybe you haven't started reading your Bible through every day because you're scared you're not going to keep up with it. I believe there's a lot of people that don't come to church because they're scared they're not going to be able to come faithfully every single time. Can I tell you this? If you don't ever start coming, you're never going to be able to finish. If you don't start living for God, you're never going to be able to finish. Maybe it's afraid to sing a special because, give any reason. Maybe your wall is being afraid to testify in church. Maybe you're afraid. Maybe your wall is dressed in a certain way, worried about people judging you. You know, all those things I just mentioned, those are peculiar things to do. We're going to look peculiar to the world, folks. Can I ask you this? Did you notice how Joshua was walking? Did anyone notice we're going to look different than the world? If we're going to have some walls in our life break down. I don't know about you, but I'll just lay this out there. Maybe the rest of this message won't even be for you, but hopefully for somebody. Can you think of any walls in your life that you want brought down? I mean, is there anything standing in your way, or is everything just good for you? I mean, there's nothing bad going on. There's no real walls in your life. Everything's just a clear path there, and I'm doing good. Well, I guess the message isn't for you then. Some of us have walls in our life. Big walls. We want them to come down. Can I say this? Did you notice how Joshua was walking? He had one shoe on, didn't he? Now, you may say, Aaron, you're reading too much into it. I bet you after Joshua 5, he put a shoe back on, and he only had a shoe off while talking to the Lord. Well, that's fine, but I'm preaching right now. I'm not teaching. So this may not be doctrinally accurate. You see how Joshua was walking? What did he look like?
Crippled.
Like he had a limp. You walk with one shoe, you look like you got a limp. You know what a limp is representative of? It's the same thing he did to Jacob whenever he touched the thigh right there. He hit that muscle. And when he hit that muscle, Jacob walked the rest of his life with a limp. You know what a limp will do? It'll humble you. Nothing humbles a man that was once athletic, that was once a bodybuilder, this and that. And I've met a lot of them where they used to lift weights, they used to exercise, they used to be athletic. Nothing humbles a man more than one injury to the hip or to the knee, and they got a limp the rest of their life. And whenever the clouds come over and there's a low front coming in, the cool's coming in, that thing starts to ache. And it's hurting. And you got to get up out of bed. Some of you know what I'm talking about. You got to get up out of bed and you got to walk with that limp. You know what that's a picture of? It's a picture of being humble. You know what God's got to do to us before He can use us and tear down some walls of Jericho? He's got to make us humble. As long as we're in control of everything and we got our swords drawn and we're going to kill that captain Lord of hosts, we're going to take care of Jericho on our own, do things our own way, the way we've done it before. Jericho was a warrior, by the way. He was a slave for 40 years and he was a warrior for 40 years. He's almost 80 years old right now. And he said, Joshua, he said, if you're going to win this battle, he says, take off that shoe. Joshua, I want you to walk around with a limp for a little while. You know, God, I'm talking about humility of mind. I'm not saying you have to have a physical injury for God to use you. You know, God can use a man or woman with a limp. He just can't use a man or woman with a strut. Can't use a prideful man or woman. And you say, Aaron, no, I'm not prideful, I'm humble, I give money to the poor, I do this and that. You could be, but you can be prideful in the good things that you do. A lot of people are. You can be prideful and say this, I don't really need the church, I'm good. You know something I've noticed? I've ministered in the city for over 3 years, the inner city, and I noticed the difference between city folk and country folk. You know what I've noticed is a little bit different about them? City folk, they usually don't talk to you. They usually slam the door in your face, things like that. Country folk will talk to you, but they're going to let you know that they're good on their own. They don't need church. I mean, hey, they're not drinking. They're not boozing. They're not running around this and that. They got their little farmhouse, but they're good. I think Sister Lillian said it. She likes that track right there that says, I'm a pretty good person. She said, because that's what I was before I got saved. I was a pretty good person. You know what God says? If I'm going to use you, you got to have a humble heart and a humble mind. And can I give you just a tip? You should try to humble yourself before God before He has to humble you Himself. God humble me, man. You know one way He'll humble you? I'll just throw this in there. You know one good way He'll humble you? He can humble you financially. He can humble you with your family. There's that physical elements, this and that. A lot of times how He'll humble you is when you get to lay your head down on your pillow at night. He just leaves you to your own mind. All those awful memories, all those regrets, all the pains, all the heartaches. God says, I was going to give you peace of mind over there in Philippians chapter 4, but you want to do things your own way, so I'm just going to humble you. God humbled me. And you know what I try and do now? I try and humble myself before Him so He can use me. That He can get all the glory. He said, Joshua, take off your shoe. And then notice this. I got to think about this while studying. I thought, Lord, I understand you wanting, I kind of stressed the idea of walking with a limp. I said, Lord, really, why else would you have to take off a shoe? He made him take off his shoe in enemy territory. I'm not a soldier. That's not a good place for taking off your shoes, is it? Brother Kaisermore, you ever went on a chase as a state trooper and you said, hold on, so I'm going to kick off my shoes, I'm going to take off running after this guy. No, you kept them on, didn't you? That's not a good place to take off your shoe, especially in enemy territory. And I got thinking, Lord, why didn't you have him throw down his sword? I mean, if you want to humble a soldier, man, say, give me your weapon. Lord, why didn't you have him give his sword up? And I thought about maybe Joshua would have still fought with his fist. You know, a fighter don't have a weapon. He's going to bite you, he's going to punch you, he's going to gouge you, whatever he's got to do. But on the street, man, it's no rules, no holds barred. You're just going to win no matter what. You don't know if the dude's going to kill you or not. You're just going to fight with whatever you got. But he had him take off both shoes. Or you could have had him take off both shoes like Moses. I got to think about this. Why didn't you have him lay down a sword? He still could have fought. Well, Lord, why didn't you have him take off both shoes like you did Moses back in Exodus 4 or Exodus 3? Why didn't you just have him take off both of them? With one shoe on, it would have been harder for Joshua to run away and make an escape. Would you rather, some of you grew up out here in the countryside. I grew up down on Goat Mountain. I don't know if that's country enough for you, but I grew up on Goat Mountain there in Medford, Ohio. But we used to run around without shoes on all the time, down in the woods, up in the grass and everything. And we'd run around with shoes on. I'd rather run around with no shoes on at all, like Moses had to take his shoes off. I'd rather run around with no shoes on than run around with one shoe on. You know what God said to Joshua? He said, Joshua, you want the walls of Jericho to fall down? I want to make sure, Joshua, you're not going to run. I want to make sure, Joshua, whenever I give you the orders to march around Jericho, you're not going to say, all right, Lord, I'm done, I'm backing out, I got those shoes on, I'm going to take off. You know, a lot of people keep their shoes on in case they want to make an escape. An old shoe, kind of like an old CD, old country CD that they keep around, they keep on the dashboard there, just in case they want to listen to some classics like Dean Martin or Johnny Cash or Tim McGraw. They don't listen to it all the time, but they keep that CD in the car just in case they want to make a little escape for a little while. And just kind of relive some of those old days, you know. They keep some of those old pictures around where they're not really appropriate pictures, but they keep them around just in case they want to make an escape in their mind and go back how they're living before. They keep some old clothes around, that old shoe, those old clothes that make them feel younger and good looking, just in case they can wear it, make a little escape. They keep a few questionable pictures around. They forgive, this is a good one, they forgive everyone for everything except that one person. Brother Frank, don't forgive everybody for everything except that one person that said something to them in church. One person didn't shake their hand maybe or something, or that one person just has a bunch of qualities that they don't like. What they'll do is they'll keep that one shoe. They're not going to give it to the Lord. They're going to keep it in their back pocket just in case they ever want an excuse to leave church. Put that shoe back on and walk out the door and never come back. How many people have you knocked on their door after come out to church and say, well, I would, but back in 1977 I was in church, and you're not going to believe it, that the pastor was sleeping around with a woman in the church. So does every pastor sleep around with women in the church? Is that, I used to go here to so-and-so, but a deacon's wife told my wife that this and that, and we just don't go back there. I figured, okay, can I ask you this? Do you go back to Walmart? Did you know, you might not know this, but there's people in Walmart that are some pretty sick people that work there. They're pretty gross. I don't know how much